Oh, hey, y'all. What? Oh, snap. We on the 5th day, aren't we? All right, so I'm just about to head out to the basketball court. Let me put my sneakers on real quick. And then we're going to talk after the intro.
Light up the woods, light up the woods. One syllable at a time. Light up the woods, light up the woods. One video at a time. Light up the woods, light up the woods. One syllable at a time. Light up the woods, light up the woods. One video at a time.
We are on day 5 of our 30 lessons in 30 years. And today's lesson is, drum roll please, grace. Showing grace to yourself and showing grace to others. I have come to learn in my 30 years of life that grace is so important. I feel like God has really made me an advocate for grace. Oftentimes when big things happen, whether in my small little community or just at the world at large, and everybody is throwing this negativity and blaming and all the things, God always gives me this other perspective of grace. He's really made me an advocate for grace, and I'm so grateful for the grace that he gives me. And I would be very selfish not to show grace to other people. I receive a lot of grace because why? I am not perfect. And that's where grace starts, in the acknowledgement of our imperfections and the acknowledgement of humanity. I am not perfect. You are not perfect. We gonna mess up. We are all humans having a human experience, and in this human experience, we are all just trying to figure this out, which means what? We gonna mess up. We gonna mess up. And that's where grace comes in. We gonna mess up. And that's where grace comes in for yourself and for others. Now, as I was trying to prepare for this, and I was writing the blog, because I always write the blog first, go on to lightupthewoods.com. There is a blog post that correlates with each video in the series. Hello, somebody. As I was preparing and writing this blog, it was so difficult for me to properly articulate the magnitude of grace. The Bible mentions grace about 170 times. When I Google the definition for grace, there is so many that show up, because grace is just that much. Grace is just that important. Grace is complicated, but also very simple at the same time. I don't know how to articulate it, so this video is going to be probably real short. Okay? The point is, give grace to yourself and give grace to others, because we need it, because we're all having this human experience. Now, one thing that I said in the blog is showing grace is not a free pass to allow people to do whatever they want and get away with it. Sometimes people don't want to give grace because they're like, they have to pay for what they did, or they're not just gonna get away with it. Baby, it's not about people getting away with anything. You can still hold folks accountable, but with grace, right? When you hold people accountable with grace, it's leading with love, not anger. It's leading with the desire to see growth, not repay suffering. When you hold people accountable with grace, it's doing it with an aim for harmony, not discord. And oftentimes, when things happen in life, we have a rapid response, right? And because sometimes we don't take a moment and process the situation, we don't give grace the ability to permeate. We don't give grace the ability to sift through it and see what the best course of action would be. We react, right? Now, if we take a moment and add grace into any situation, right? Honestly, it leads to a lot more harmony. it leads to a lot more peace. Does that make sense? Let me see what I wrote. I wrote this shit into my blog. Okay, so one of the definitions to grace that I found was simple elegance or refinement of movement, right? Now this is just one of the nouns. Of course, there's, a lot of grace in the biblical definition, grace in the physical definition, all those things. So one of the definitions is simple elegance or refinement of movement. And I love that definition because sometimes it requires grace to show grace. Sometimes it requires simple elegance or refinement of movement to show grace. Takes grace to give grace. What does that mean? When things happen and we are just so ready to pop, take a moment and insert grace. Take a moment to have some simple elegance and refinement of your movement, so that you can assess. Let me see it from this perspective. Let me think about it from your perspective. Let me have grace in this situation. See, I even wrote this in the blog. I feel like there's something else I'm supposed to say, but I can't. It's not coming to me. And that's the thing about grace. Me, before acknowledging and understanding grace, would be beating myself up about it. And I probably wouldn't even do this video because I'd be so stuck in having to be perfect. No, I have to figure out what it is. What's the thing that I have to say? But me, after grace, me knowing grace is like, you know what, Woods? Even if you don't say it perfect in this video, it's all right. It's okay. Do it anyways. And if it comes to me later on, maybe I'll come back and post another video about grace with the thing that I am not remembering, right? I'm going to have grace for myself. Grace gives us freedom and grace gives us peace. I feel like most of the lessons that I've been talking about somehow correlate back to freedom and peace because it's so important. When we are interacting with people, try your very best to give them grace, because a lack of grace breeds calamity. And try to have grace for yourself as well. Don't expect yourself to be perfect. Don't expect other people to be perfect. Matter of fact, expect people to mess up. Leave room for grace. Does that make sense? I really hope that makes sense. But like I said, I'll probably be back with another video once I figure out how to properly articulate it. And if you guys know how to define grace and explain grace, please just write it in the comments. Help a sister out. Have some grace for me. Yeah? All right. Well, that's the best I can do on this one. Okay? And I'm okay with that. And until I see you again, you have a duty to shine your light in this world. So go on and light up the world. Bye.